like a next thing.
Okay, people.
They have a list of stuff. A list of disease and
what do you call
X.
it?
And then disease X is just one thing. If you go to CEPI,
you know, I really find this
different disease
X,
across the board. All of them
X,
with their
Twitter,
own list of subcategories
something else
of
running
diseases.
around
so their goal
with
here,
a Marex hat on.
keep in mind,
right?
you can't see
I'm just saying.
X, Sean. You don't know what it is. It's invisible,
I'm going to turn this
right?
off
So
here.
that is the greatest form of
Okay, so just remember, people, I spoke to Malcolm X's sister back in, oh God, what was it, 2001, 2002? And she gave me blessings. Oh, I'll bring it up, I'll show you. But before I do that, hold on a second, before I lose my track of thought. Okay, this is too funny. This is too funny. This is why I turned on this camera. Now, I'm going to be going off on another detour here with a whole bunch of fresh meat. We'll talk about that when that time comes. But in the meantime, look at this title. It says, Corona, you know what? I'm a native and I can't pronounce that word because I'm supposed to forget it unless I know how to use it in the right context. Sort of acts like a, and of course we wouldn't want to say rabid because, you know, it's a deep, dark rabbit hole. So, before I get myself into trouble here, but I'm surprised that this one hasn't been taken down yet, just in light of what's been going on. Now, mind you, I'm not sure what I'm talking about in there, but what I'm doing here is I'm getting into my playlist again. It's not easy, right? You know, because I have a lot of videos. Whew. What is this? I think this is my playlist I'm working on. So far I got something like 75 videos with one of them removed, but there's more than one removed because we know what YouTube and their staff with AI have been doing, right? So I just wanted to point that out. So let's see, I downloaded this one. Now we're going to go into this one. So that's number 76. This is number 77. Not that I'm trying to draw attention to it, but, and what I'm doing is I'm numbering them as I'm going along. Eventually, I will cross-reference to the printout that I have with them, just to double check. And then I'm putting them into the playlist here. Now these download as an MP4. That's not how they went up though. Maybe one or two did, but the majority of them no. And we're going to save that. And we're going to save that. Okay. And then of course there's links here. All kinds of stuff. Anyway, and then we're going to download it. And yeah, I'm just building up my playlist, but I just found that title to be very unusual, still up on the server here, considering all things said, right? Oh yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it's, what is it? It's January 23rd of 2024 at 7:17 a.m. in the morning. Amari woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, man. Alrighty, so January 24th. Oh my God. 11 o'clock at night. Sleeping at the wheel here. This is the Mitsu. You can see I grounded it up. Right, that's the little lighter one. And if you notice, after I ground it up, it lost some of its darkness. Okay. After you grind it, you have to run your hands through it and pick out things that don't grind up. Okay? And then before you jar it, because it doesn't dry, it takes a really long time to dry, right? So before you dry it, before you put it in a jar, And I'm going to vacuum seal my jars. I'm going to put them in half pint. I'm going to put them in half pint size jars. And I'm going to vacuum seal them. And this way they stay fresh. Right? And that stuff is so potent, you don't need very much. It's a really good bouillon. Like a little dash of bouillon for your soup broth. Like, it's great. I'm no regrets. Seriously, no regrets. Now, I'm debating whether I should just throw them in all together and mix it up and be done with it, considering I don't know what is what, to which that's probably what I'll do. And then I'm going to put them back in the dehydrator on low, 15 to 20 degrees, 115 to 120, no more than that. And just let it run till tomorrow sometime. Move it around halfway through with your fingers just to kind of like, right? And then before you jar it, make sure it completely cools. And then I myself am going to vacuum seal it. But I wouldn't put in an oxygen absorber, right? I suppose some people might put a decadent or something in there, but I'm not going to. I think it will be fine after I just do what I said I was going to do. And then, I don't know, people. I don't know what's wrong with my son. You know, I'm coming, like, you know, I went into the pantry, I dug everything out, went through everything, and whatever, and repacked it. I did the bathroom, pulled everything out, repacked it, got rid of a few things. I went underneath the cupboard, right, pulled practically everything out. Well, I did, actually. Repacked it, you know, checked everything, right? You know, my fridge got clogged up there with frozen ice and pulled everything out. And then my neighbor gave me some meat. And so I'm canning, and now I got rid of that problem. I found a place for it in my bedroom. I put some soup jars down on the bottom on some cans, right, that I pulled out from, okay, whatever. I'm like, I'm tired, right, people? And like, you know, like, okay, so, was it yesterday? Not yesterday. I think it was the day before. I don't know. Maybe it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. Not yesterday. It was the day before. I ended up resting on the couch, right? And, like, I don't go downstairs. I avoid it. I'm not going downstairs until I'm done getting everything ready that needs to go downstairs. Like, I got buckets of, 5-gallon buckets with new rice and Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, and I think 3 of them in there, right? Because I never really did rice, right? I did everything else with the grains, but never really rice. Yeah, I have a couple small little buckets, but okay, so whatever. And I got a bin of beans over there that need to go down, right? Because I bought extra jars and whatever. But outside of that, like, there's not much I need to take down. A few boxes with some canned goods in them. And then I'm going to have to work down there, right? And I'm expected to do it. Like, this is bullshit. Like, within a time frame. And it's not that simple because, you really have to be strategic about things, right? But eventually I'm going to get down there. And then, of course, we know my son's been bugging me for more space, so I'm like, And I said to him last week, because he's coming up, always poking his, poking him, and I'm like, whatever, and he asked me for this, or, I give him that, or whatever, and, and like I said, we were at that I love you mode. We were back to that, right? I'm laying on the couch, minding my own fucking business, trying to leave them alone, right? I mean, I do have to go down at some point and do whatever I'm going to do. I don't even know what I'm going to do, right? And like, you know, like I already mentioned to him a week ago, like maybe you can poke your nose up in the attic for me and see what the hell, you know, maybe I can put a couple of bins up there or whatever, right? You know, just so that let him know that I'm thinking, you know, I'm working on it, right? Like, fuck, man. It took me years to get to this point with food security, and he wants me to fucking throw it out like a stupid. So anyway, I'm laying on the couch. I'm bagged, right? I don't know what he said. Oh yeah, he because his stove broke, right? So they haven't brought the stove yet. He asked me if I had a hot plate. And of course I do, because when I did the black walnuts, I had hot plates because I was cooking up the husks outside. I have 2 of them. And you never know. They're nice to have, right? I said, yeah. He goes, oh, you know, I'm just want to mention. I'm like, what? I'm like, my heart just drops. I get this god-awful death fucking feel. And I'm like, what? I'm laying on the couch trying to rest, okay? You know. Oh, well, you know, when are you going to start moving stuff out? That was it. It was on. I'm like, well, you know, we talked about that, like, you know, what about, you know, I did mention about you looking up in the attic. Oh, well, you know, and I don't know. And then next thing you know, he gets all geeked up, and then he's telling me he's just going to start putting stuff in the garage. I said, don't you dare do that. I said, this time if you do that, I'm calling the cops on you. I'm going to fucking document it this time. Oh, well, now you're coming after me with police abuse. I'm like, shut the hell up. Like, I don't go downstairs. I told him, I don't bother your wife. Oh, well, that's the one thing. Thank you. And I'm like, fuck you. Like, fuck you. I'm telling you, people, when I met her, he was throwing my shit out. And she expected it to happen and trivialized it. And turned it into some big fucking game. Okay, whatever. And I said, like, move out. Go move into her parents' house. There are 2 people with 5 bedrooms because they had 4 daughters, right? All their daughters moved out. The one that's downstairs was the last one to move out. They live in a 5-bedroom house that's paid for because they bought it way back in the day when houses were affordable. Something like my landlords paid $175,000 for this house in 1991. Even though they don't think I should know that, but being that I've paid their mortgage 3 times over, I'm just saying, right? Since I've lived here, as I'm being mistreated one way or another, for whatever reason, regardless by whom, you know, I said, just go move in with them because you'll get cheap rent there. Like, don't fucking, oh, well, I'm staying because it's cheap rent. I'm like, well, no, just go. And they got 4 available bedrooms. They have no kids to look after like me. Oh, no, they want to be by themselves. They don't want nobody around. I live here. I'm, you know, I'm taking the basement over. I said, you can't. I'm on the lease. I said, yeah, you came in as a dependent under me. It's my signature. Oh, when was the last time you updated it? I said, it doesn't matter. If anything ever went to court with Mrs. Gill, her and I, we have the one lease. If we don't want to update it, we still have the one lease. You're still listed on there as a dependent to me. My landlord deals with me. She made the agreement with me. And I told him, the only reason you have a fucking house to live in is because I sacrificed my life, people, for 11 to 12 years in this yard. Being gang stalked by the city of Surrey and whoever else to try and run me out so that they could overinflate the fucking rent, break it up into 2 separate suites instead of a single family occupancy home, and make $5,000 a month now on this place. $2,500 for up and $2,500 for down. Based on what I did in the yard. Greenhouse, sheds, gardens, just walkways, fucking wood pile, just whatever. Compost boxes, all of it. I told him, the only reason you have a place, I'm working with Mitsu, is because I gave up my life so that you'd have a fucking place. The city come, what could they say? You're not doing enough? Hell, I spent 10 years out in the yard 1 year because of the fucking city. Like, what? Who does that? How does a city worker, sook, keep me in the yard for fucking 10 months? Rain, shine, hot weather, and snow. 5 to 6 days a week. 10 to 12 hours a day. Wasn't like they could say I wasn't doing anything, because I was. That's why when my landlady came and said whatever she said, I told her I gave up my fucking life for you. Like, I went blind everything. Gave up sewing, gave up... I lived in a yard, people. Literally, I lived in the fucking yard more than I did in the house. So I wouldn't lose it. Well, that wasn't your responsibility. I said, you're right. But if I wouldn't have done it, that would have been it. Right? Because that's what they used against me. Right? So you need to be thankful, because the whole fucking time I was out there, you never came out. When we first moved in, and the backyard was nothing but mud, grit, it was like overrun with water because they had a drainage problem, right? I laid fucking drainage pipes out there with drainage rocks, people, to control the drainage problem out there. But the first year, when we got out there, he helped me. But after that, no. The only one that ever helped me cut the grass and do the weed whacker was Tisha. Well, maybe he moved. Yeah, he moved a few things, right? But other than that, I'm like, shut up. You know? I said, no, you don't want to go live with her parents because you won't be able to talk to the father like the way you talk to me. Oh, no, they just don't want to be bothered with anybody. They want to live by themselves. Oh, yeah, okay. And you're threatening to throw more of my stuff out in the fucking garage. Okay, go ahead. I'll call the police on you. What? Oh, now you're abusing me with the police. I said, yeah, I'm going to document it. And if you want to take it to court, we'll go to court. Because you're an idiot, basically. I told him, I'm moving out. I'm moving my... Why are you moving? I said, because I have a family. I have to move. This place is not conducive for me. He couldn't understand that one. Family. Because I view Amari and Andre as my family. Not so much my son, because he fucking harasses me every 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and makes me feel like I want to frickin' die. He criticizes me constantly. So does his wife, if she gets a chance. Tells me, well, you can't move. There's nowhere to go. You live in a bubble. There is no affordable housing. How do you plan on, you're not moving. You can't. And I'm like, well, yes, I can. I'm not afraid. You think this is the first time I've been in this situation, people? Right? In terms of, you have children and You don't always get what you want, and if it's less than what I get, I've already determined that whatever I don't want, I'll leave it in the house. My son and his wife can move upstairs. If they don't want it, they can chuck it. They can put it on the road. I don't care. I didn't take it with me. But I'm not staying. I know what I want for Amari. I know what I want for me. I know what I want for Andre. And if my kids, whether it's Tisha or Marcane, don't want to help me to establish that, then I will try to do it for myself. And if I have to, I'll get in-home care assistance to help me with things, whatever those things may be. Or, like I told Tisha, maybe I'll end up in a care home, locked away like a dirty secret, because I can't see, and Amari might just end up in foster care. That could happen. That's a possibility. But it's also a possibility that once I make up my mind, because I know how my mind works with Uncle John, when we made up our mind that we were moving, or even before I made up my mind without him, when he wasn't there to make those decisions with me, in terms of, like, until, when he moved in. Right? Then when he moved in, anytime we moved, we would discuss it, right? We'd make the decision, and I'd get on it. I'd give myself a year to pack up, do whatever I needed to do, gather up the money that I needed to get, or whatever, except for when I was illegally cut off of welfare in the middle of winter in 2003. That was different. I didn't have a year. I had 30 days, and then my landlord gave me an extra 15 days. So I had 45 days to get out of a house I had been in for 8 fucking years because my government kicked me off of welfare illegally. But I still moved my family. And not only did I move my family once, but I moved them twice in a 3-month period. And then we stayed at Sarah's house in the shanty shack for 3 years and a bit while I looked after Gary without pay for the Ministry of Children and Family Development. I did what I needed to do to have a roof over my kids' fucking head. And my son basically had his own room after Brooks moved out. And Brooks only stayed with me for 6 months. So he, let the fuck off. Right? I slept at the bottom of the bed, on the bottom bunk, like a damn dog, literally, for over 3 years. Okay. So, I thought about maybe moving downstairs and using that living room as a rumpus room, but this house is too old, and we get big ass wolf spiders. I'm talking the size of a freaking loony up to a toonie. These things are right. And then there's wolf spiders. Wolf spiders live in the house. They like to come in the wintertime, and fall and in winter, right? And they live along the baseboards and stuff, and they come out and they can get pretty big sometimes. And then there's also brown recluses on the property, because I've seen them, because I live in Canada and they live out here, right? And there's a lot of wood and stuff. I like wood. That's just the way it is. So I don't want to be, no, it's not going to happen. I thought about it because I'm exploring all my options here, right? But no, it's not happening. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to move out in a year from now. In the old days, better eyesight, affordable housing, with or without a disabled child, I could have done it. That wouldn't have been a problem, because that's how I operate. 1 year to pack up, move, 1 year to unpack. And I always looked for the long term, right? That's why when my landlord said to me on the night that I came with Auntie Joan and Uncle John to look at this house, take it now. We'll never raise the rent. Stay as long as you want. That was the ticket. Stay as long as you want. The raising the rent part, sure, it would have been nice But it is what it is, right? So I'm not being forced out of here. So it might take me 2 years. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to make it that long. And that's what I told Tisha. Right? So when my son was standing there hollering and screaming at me, I just dialed the phone. I handed the phone to him. And he was... It was like, whatever. Just fucking, like, shut up, man. Seriously, you want to stress me out and fucking start putting fabric and just what little left I have and food out in the garage because your wife doesn't want to go back home to her parents and wants to sick you on me for cheap rent, right? It tells me you can't. And then he goes, you were canning. You told me, I told you, right? You told me you weren't going to can anymore. I said, yeah, oh, yeah, right. And my neighbor gave me the food, and what did I do? I gave you the beef, and what did you do with the beef? You ran off with it, right, Marcane? As long as you want it, it's good to go. But if you don't want it, it's whatever. I canned the turkey, right? And I canned the ham, but I gave him the beef, people, because, you know. And then what did I do after he hollered and screamed at me and all that stupid shit? I went off and bought fucking beef, pork. You'll see. That's what the video is going to be about. Although I should probably put this up first and then get on with that, because, you know, this little chatty shit gets kind of long. But yeah, no, I spent like... Why did I do that? Well, because I'm at the tail end of almost everything now. My freezer's been cleared out. And I want to make lasagna. I wanted to make lasagna. And I didn't want to buy hamburger. Because, in part, I don't like pink slime. And the other part is, honestly, I don't necessarily trust Andre! The other part is, I don't necessarily honestly trust our food supply. I just don't. And so I decided to buy meat, beef, and pork chops. And I'm going to grind them up in my grinder. So I pulled out the grinder. Andre, I'm hoping to help, but, you know, it's kind of hard when, you know, Amari bounces around, so. And then after, and we were going to make for Marcane, right? But I'm not doing it. Anything I make extra is going in the freezer for Andre and I. Yeah. I gotta stop being roped in. So, you know, because I didn't want to buy a hamburger. I wanted, I'm trying to use, just, I don't know, building, I've been doing food prep, people, for so long that, I just kind of want a little bit of a more normal life before I go completely blind. So, I don't need it canned, but because I bought a fair amount, and once it's all grounded up, I'm going to combine the pork with the beef, because when you grind beef by itself, even with the beef fat a little bit, you thinking you grinding it like hamburger, but it never really tastes like the hamburger that you buy at the grocery store, because they put additives into it, right? Where the stuff you do tastes more like beef. Right? So, in that way I'm kind of missing out a little bit, but either or, I just, maybe it's my way of rebelling, but if you notice, I didn't buy it for canning, right? So I'm going to be making little patties and stuff like that. And then I've got some oranges here, and I bought some lemons, and because I went back into my small bathroom there, right? I went, and I have room in my freezer. I went off and I got some ice trays, so I've got ice cubes freezing up. I'm going to put them in a nice container for, drinks, right? Smoothie drinks or whatever. And I'm going to peel the lemons. I'm going to peel these oranges, and I'm going to freeze them in slices for that purpose or whatever. And then I'm going to chop up the rinds. Where is it? Oh, I can't get it out. I'll be knocking everything down here. Oh, here we go. Chop up the rinds. These are old. Really old. I don't eat them. I should, though. Full of vitamin C. They're really good, actually. Kind of moist. That one was. This one's better. I like it a little more chewy. It's because they're old. Just sitting in some kind of container. But that's what I'm going to do. Before I chuck them out.
I got you.
And then because they're frozen, you know, Andre wants to make his smoothie drinks, and you know, I told him like fruit is expensive, so we have to figure out a way where I can do it with a budget, right? So you don't go nuts with it. But so I bought a little frozen, I bought some blueberries frozen, although I got some downstairs that I can't get to. Go figure. And a little bit of strawberries. I have orange pieces, lemon pieces. We got the mango in the can, either in pulp or in chunks. We've got pineapple in the can. We got peaches in the can. So anyway. Oh yeah, and I bought chicken too, and I had to get some because once the food stuff is done, the food prep is done. I'm like, oh, I'm getting close to almost done. I have to go downstairs and just move things around a little bit and figure out where I'm going to put a whole bunch of shit, as I'm being told that I can't do this and I can't do that. You know, he criticized me with this. He criticized, like, constant. Like, it's pathetic. It's, like, so stupid. I'll be so glad when I get away from him. Yeah. Kyrie is allergic to milk. And we know I want to make ice cream, right? So I'm going to be getting into making coconut cream ice cream. All right. So I bought some coconut cream in cans. I have coconut milk, but you want the best, highest fat content. So you're leaning more towards coconut cream for that. And then, because, you know, because I can afford now to be more selective and still be frugal in terms of a better diet, I suppose. Right? Because what I buy is like very limited in terms of I don't need that, 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 that sure I don't need. And I know I don't need that over there, so, but you know what? I can get this, and I'm good. And even then, I spend anywhere between $150 to $300, and like I can't imagine how people are. And this is what, like my son, why do you need all this food? Well, I'd like to think I'm going to live for another 5 to 10 years anyway. That'd be enough to get me through with the kids, pretty much. Minus, small shops to fill in the gaps. But he doesn't see it like that, right? Yeah, so I bought chicken to make chicken McNuggets for the kids. Before I buy chicken McNuggets, I'm going to make chicken McNuggets. Before I buy hamburger, I will ground my own pork and beef and combine the two and consider that to be primo hamburger. Or I tried to get a more fattier beef, but it's like, you couldn't get it, right? So I had to compromise and get a little more pork with some fat to mix the two together. But then they gave me beef that I didn't even want because it had to come in as a substitute. So who knows? Doesn't matter. Just like with the hot dogs and stuff. I'm not going to be buying hot dogs. Oh, I buy a couple, 2 little 3-packs if I don't have, I don't have time to make hot dogs. But I got everything to make hot dogs, sausages, all that stuff, right? But that's for another day because I have to work on clearing out my deep freeze a little more. But, that's downstairs, that one, right? So, yeah, I bought chicken to make chicken McNuggets. I just finished grounding the mitsu. Here's some breadcrumbs. I'm going to grind up these breadcrumbs for the chicken McNuggets. I've got those Chinese breadcrumbs that are, been around forever. I have some in a jar, but don't ask me where it is, but I've got some in bags, so I'm going to grab some of that too. I'm going to mix them up, and I'm going to make my own chicken McNuggets. I'll probably do a video on it. I found some old spices. I think it's important for people to see this kind of stuff. Here we've got some rosemary from 2015. That was when I had a beautiful plant that got like almost as tall as me. Well, it probably was as tall as me. It just, that grew. Only thing is I never sealed these, right? And that's from my plant that was outside in the front in 2015. So I thought I'd use this. From what I can tell, it still looks kind of green. It's good. It tastes like rosemary. The longer you leave it in your mouth, the more it tastes like rosemary. And don't forget I had lemon in my mouth. Now I got rosemary. Oh my, that's strong. That's good. 2015. I won't need a lot of that. And I've got some over there too that I bought from the store. Here we've got some Italian spice. 2015. So we're going to taste this. I didn't seal it. Better just seal these things if you can. I didn't have a means to do it. That's why I didn't do it. Let's take a bite. I got too many flavors in my mouth. It's okay. It's just unsalted. And I'm still chewing on rosemary. The rosemary overtook everything. And don't forget, I was chewing on that lemon rind. Or orange rind. Or whatever it was. And then I've got other ones around, but like I said, I've been going around just doing whatever. I think this is a jalapeno. nothing written on it. But from what I can tell, it's a jalapeno. I have like new seasoning for Italian seasoning and stuff over there. I don't know where really over there where, but because I did all that a while back, right? But I don't get a lot of help, so. I took a little bite. Oh, my nose is starting to run. This one doesn't seem to have any flavor, so I'll probably maybe throw that out. Looks kind of got like it got real dark, but then jalapenos would do that. Maybe if I didn't have lemon stuck on my teeth and maybe I'll soften it up, come in fresh with it. If I don't like it, I'll chuck it out. I wasn't too sure. Right, I don't know. It doesn't really have any taste. But then I'm still tasting lemon on this side because it's stuck on my tooth, and then on that side it's rosemary all the way. And then in the middle is a little bit of that Italian seasoning. But I don't know, it tastes more like rosemary. That rosemary is still good after all this time. So anyway, I wasn't going to talk about my son, but he needs to smarten up. Like, seriously. You can't move. You live in a bubble. Where do you think you're going? Huh? I'm not like you. I'm not afraid to take the fucking leap when the leap time comes. I just don't know when it's gonna happen. Tisha, well, just, because she said, well, why won't he move? And I said, it's just like, he just won't. Right. Well, can't you do this, do that? And I'm like, it's not that simple. It's just not that simple. If that was the case, it would have been completely different. And just because his sisters are dead, in terms of Sierra and Shemay, doesn't mean he has the right to take over the whole fucking basement. Act like it's an independent suite. And he's on the lease. Yeah, you're on the lease as a dependent. To me. There's one lease. Why don't you just respect your mom? Don't make it any harder than it already is. I told him you need to be grateful. Be grateful for the things that you do have and get. Alright. Then he went off and got the hot plate. I think he got the hot plate. I don't know, people. Anyway, I'm getting real close to the end of... I still have to can some of this fruit that's in cans, like the pineapple and the peaches, and eventually I will do it over the next 6 months. And he'll be, you told me you weren't canning no more. I'll be like, yeah, but I also told you that I'd be canning fruit from the cans because I don't want the fruit getting tinny tasty. So shut the fuck up. Leave me alone. Go away. Where are you gonna put it? Does it matter to you? As long as it's not in quote-unquote your space. I'm like, fuck off. Honestly, I don't feel like being YouTube's bitch either. No. So, if I'm going to upload this video, I should just upload it onto BitChute and be done with it. Right? So many times, YouTube has abused me in the worst kind of ways. And I went back and did videos. And just as I was feeling good, you know, back in that I love you mode, they turn around and slap me around like they're bitch again, take down videos, do this, do that, whatever. I don't get it. And BitChute is funny, you know. People watching my videos, but they're not saying anything. They're not subscribing. Like, whatever. What it does is it reminds me of kind of being around the public union sector when my kids were in school. And there was practicing institutional racism. And I'll give you one example. And I'm going to end it on this note, considering what I said when I first started this video about speaking to Malcolm X's sister, right? When I first started off with the foundation and everything. Okay? Because I was, you know, promoting community activism, two countries coming together with a grassroots movement to build up local communities within states and provinces or whatever. And I got the blessing of Malcolm X's sister to, you know, be Mayor X, I guess you could say. My son, Brooks, was like 12 or 13 or whatever it was. You know, and got the hats for the kids. I put the X on the T-shirt, and I booked a hall that could house 250 people. But my board directors didn't promote it. They were just interested in coming and stealing everything that I had for gifts to give to the public. That came from Malcolm X's sister, sent them to me to give to the public. But the board directors didn't promote the event, so all I basically had was the kids and the board directors sitting around this table after I spent like $2,000 on the hall and DJ and food and everything and just whatever. And then it came time to do the gifts because I was obligated, right? And they just robbed me. And they came from Nova Scotia or someplace like that, those people. And they told me in the end that, you know, like, why was I trying to help Americans? I needed to help Canadians. But yet they were taking all of Malcolm X's stuff that his sister sent me. Right? So anyway, you know, my son was feeling pretty good about it all, right? So went to school, you know, he was in school. This is when he wasn't, like, because he did homeschooling off, right? So he was in school, and the teacher asked the kids to do a report on somebody famous. Like an important person, right? Brooks decided to do it on Malcolm X. And they simply refused it. They said, no, you cannot do a report on Malcolm X because he was a criminal. This is Canadian politics. You can do one on Martin Luther King, though, if you want. My son didn't do one. That's just one example. And now you got everybody running around talking X this, X that, X, X, X. Yeah, well, whatever. I'm the original Mayor X.